So, in the management, we will look at levels. Yes, we look at the skills at that particular levels. Now, obviously, there are different types of skills required at every level. As I was talking to you about, restaurant manager may have, a team which is looking specifically for the functions and operations of a restaurant, wherein food and beverage manager will have maybe 5 or 10 restaurants in the hotel, and a general manager will have not just food and beverage, he'll have food and beverage, front office, all those. So that means there are different levels, and every level will have more responsibilities. But even though they have different responsibilities, Robert L. Katz actually referred to three basic skills that every manager needs to have. Which are those three? Number one, technical skills. Number two, human. And the third is conceptual skills. So let's actually go into detail and find out these three skills. As the name says, the first one, technical skills. What are the technical skills that one person may have? Now, technical skills. Let's start from the restaurant, as we say, or let's start from the tour operation. So, in a tour operator, the technical skills may be how do you do booking, right? So, flight booking to be done. So, that's a technical skill. Or drafting a package, that's a technical skill. And that is expertise of technique of doing particular task, right? And this is required in a manager to know, because even though manager will not be doing it, someone else is doing it. But if there's some issues, manager should be there to actually assist and help to resolve the issue. Now, next comes human skills. Very, very important skills. Any industry, any scale, anywhere, this skill is very, very important. That means capability of a manager to build cooperation between team and the leader. That means a link between your team members and yourself. So there are a lot of research on that, a lot of studies on that. It's also going that it's called emotional intelligence, that you need to have emotional intelligence of understanding yourself and your staff members. But human skills are skills that really bring you a successful manager. It's very, very important regardless what level of management are you doing. So if you have, even if you're at supervisory level or higher, and you need to have these skills with you. And the last, which is more importantly called conceptual skills. So obviously, they look at the organization as a whole. So they also understand interdependence of various organization functions. So what do you mean? So even if you are in a, that's a tour operator, like you're working as a tour operator and you're booking a person from going to making a tour for Kashmir, for, as I was giving example. So if you're booking a tour for Kashmir for 10 days and 9 days, 10 nights, 9 nights, 10 days. So what are you looking at? You're looking at what are the different functions that be required when you're doing tours, right? So who all will be involved as an organization, and interdependence of ticketing, hotels, accommodation, stay, transportation, all those things, and who are the people in your organization who are dealing with this. So obviously you need to have to understand conceptualize that it is not that just my job is only for booking, but no, you have to go much beyond that and see your liaise with your teams and get the stuff done. Now, the importance of these skills, according to Katz, depends on managerial hierarchical positions. Rightly said by me earlier that if you have a manager who will be looking at the whole, so these skills will change their level, or you can say quantity or integrity. I will tell you on how. So what happens is, let's say your front line management, or to top level management. So front level management, that means those who are dealing directly with the frontline staff, so those directly with the operators, so or the frontline staff, or the people who are working. So what they will need to have more of what skills than to a manager. That means general manager may have more of conceptual skills, because he'll be designing, planning what will do, which department will be bringing so much of revenue and whatnot. Wherein the person who's there at your booking, so he's there at the front line, or he'll be looking forward to how can I get more into marketing, more into sales, or more into drawing packages. Or if you take example of a restaurant, so the example will be the front office manager or even a restaurant manager, sorry. The restaurant manager will be looking forward to how can he increase the sales of the restaurant, or how can he have the improved quality of his staff or skills of the staff and whatnot. They'll be more focused on them. Wherein the same time the general manager will be focused more over not just one restaurant, all the restaurants and the different department of hotels. So let's look at it. What happens is, in terms of the front level manager, so what happens is, the most is the highest level is the technical skills, and then obviously we need human skills. That's the second level, and the conceptual is very less because they are more so done by higher level management, so they are just implementing and following what higher level management is saying. So at frontline level we have maximum requirement of technical skills, wherein when you go to middle level management, that means when you already reach the level of higher, one level higher, you are a middle level manager. That means you are above supervisor but still have managers on top of you to you report to. You will need less technical, more human. You know why? Now you are following instructions from your managers and passing on to the team members or your supervisors. So here you need to have a good relationship and more, but you need to have some technical skills, and your conceptual skills or decision making skills will start increasing, improving, and that becomes more so. Your conceptual skills become, when you are top level management, your majority of your skills are actually conceptual, but that does not mean that you do not have human, because you still need to communicate with your team members, you still need to pass on the communication, and you still need to help them if they are in some issues and they have some trouble. Let's move on into the more detail of roles, tasks, and responsibilities. Now, because it is very, very imperative for us to understand that what a manager does, and what are the roles, responsibilities. Because obviously, the four tasks which said before: planning, organizing, and controlling and coordinating or heading, that is be done by all the managers, because that's the major role every manager has to do. But a manager has to make sure that he is making his team work towards achieving the organization goals, and always at the back of the mind his main objective is that his team is fulfilling those long-term or short-term goals which are there set by the higher management, right? Or even if he's a higher manager, then his team is following, and also he is responsible to make sure they are not just following the goals, they are also following the goals in time, which is called performance. That means it's also responsible for the performance of his team or his staff member, you may call it. Okay, now there are many surveys done and to understand the manager roles, and Henry Mintzberg actually gave a role of rather a more detailed information how it could be understood. So the first one that he gave was, it said interpersonal roles. So name says interpersonal. Okay, that means relationship, isn't it? So how between a person to person, right? So that means a manager must have, it's a role of a manager that he has, or he or she has a relation within the organization and outside the organization. That means what in the within the organization, outside the organization relationship. Okay, now a person, let's go in more detail. a, a manager, actually it could be a general manager or it could be a restaurant manager, depending what level he is. But if you look at general manager, he is actually heading the hotel. Restaurant manager is heading a restaurant, right? So it's a figure, it's a head of that particular department, right? So when you say you're head of the department, that means you must be open. You must be open and understanding and accepting everything that happens in your department, and you're responsible for that, right? Now, when you're a figurehead, as a head of the family member, so everyone will approach you. So that's the first image that you should have and understanding you should have in terms of your role as a figurehead. That means you are accepting everything that comes in the way, and you're responsible for everything. That means success of the team, development of the team, getting the targets and whatnot, and if there's any issues, to resolve that. Then comes as a leader. Now, when you say as a leader, there's a difference in a manager and a leader. So I'll not go in nitty gritty of that, but I'll tell you very, very simple way. A leader. A leader is a person who leads a team. Leading a team means you actually support your team members, you motivate them, you direct them, you help them to achieve the targeted goals, and obviously those targeted goals and are actually the organization goals. And obviously, you're accountable. Everyone who does is accountable for the action. So that's a big role that a manager has, a leader. Now, liaison. What is liaison? Liaison means that you liaise with someone, you connect with someone, you work with someone. So it's called a linkages. That means if I'm a front office manager and I'm booking a package, or I'm a tour operator. I'm booking a tour from Delhi to Jammu as example. I was giving you example. So or Kashmir. So what am I doing is I'm making sure I have the link with all the journey of my tourist. My tourist will actually board a flight from Delhi. So from airport, who will receive, or even if the person goes by himself, when it reaches Jammu or Kashmir, who is going to receive my tourist, where is he going to go, how smooth can I make. So travel agent over there in Jammu, person who's a taxi driver, or a tour guide, then he goes all the places, and where does he stay, where does he eat. So all those, he has a relationship and the network. So if there is any issue, what if the driver does not turn up? What if there's an issue in his car? What if there's a legal issue? What if the hotel room is not good? So there's so many things that can happen, right? So that means you need to have a very strong network where you can connect with those people and make sure you make a wonderful and journey for your client, right? So that's exactly, if that was the liaison with different teams and networks, and it could be within the department also, not just outside. Now let's go to the next important role, which is called informational role. As a manager, what do? You take information depending what level of manager you are. If you are a manager who is there at top level management, so you'll have board members, right? So you'll have a meeting in the board members. You will take decisions for long term of the organization, policies and procedures. Now you will take the decisions. You will take those from the board meetings, and then you pass it on to your um, whole team. It could be managers, assistant managers, supervisors, and so on and so forth. Now, what if you are a supervisor, or you are a front office manager, or your reservations manager? So you will actually take the information from your senior manager and then pass it on to your team, right? So you are taking the information, that means you're receiving the information, and then you're communicating the same information for that, as simple as that, to make sure that your team member, they know about mission, vision, and values of an organization. Okay, this further includes to monitor. Yes, what happens is, in terms of information, you need to know the relevant information, um, the information which is correct, and the information which is sourced, that information which is gained internally or externally. What do you mean by externally? Internally, I can understand within the organization. What is externally? To know what is going on in the market, what are the latest trends, what are the latest tour packages, let's say, what are the hotels doing, how are tourists liking new destination, what is the latest trend, what is the new millennials they're doing it, what do they want, and how do I merge or change myself to be as equally resembling to the requirements. So the next information eight terms is comes disseminator. Disseminator means to take the information or transmit the information which you received from outside to the internal members or subordinate, as I was saying. So let's say if you see some trend outside, how do you bring that trend inside and make sure that you're giving, you're analyzing, and then you're giving right information. Always remember, nowadays you have social media, right? It's a heaps and heaps of information. You really don't have to study or read all the messages that you get. You have to sift which is the right information, isn't it? Similarly, the manager has to disseminate what information he has got from outside, and he can actually pass it on. Now, always remember, in terms of information, it is also the information that you as a team member, let's say if you have a team member, he or she is giving some information, as a feedback to the organization and manager, or to the, wants to give back to the management or the organization, or if it's a grievance, again, you're a spokesperson. So you actually are spokesperson both ways. You're a spokesperson of your management or the organization to the team members, and you're also a spokesperson from team member to the management, isn't it? That's another job role a manager may have. And very importantly, decision making roles. Yes, a manager